The massive space station appeared in the viewing window like a silver city floating among the stars. Lucy Peterson pressed her small face against the cool glass and watched as their ship moved closer to the biggest thing she had ever seen. The station was so large that it had its own gravity and atmosphere, with thousands of lights twinkling across its surface like diamonds scattered on black cloth. Ambassador Claire Morrison stood behind Lucy and placed a gentle hand on the child's shoulder. Claire wore the formal blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps, her blonde hair pulled back in a neat bun that made her look very serious and important. She had been friends with Lucy's father before he died saving that colony world, and now she felt responsible for taking care of his daughter. "Welcome to Galactic Station Omega," Claire said softly. "This is where representatives from all the different alien species come to meet and talk about important things." Lucy turned her bright green eyes toward Claire and smiled. "Will I get to see real aliens today?" "Yes, sweetheart, lots of them. But remember what we talked about. You need to stay close to me and be very quiet when the grown-ups are talking." Dr. Kevin Blake walked over to join them at the window. He was a tall man with brown hair and kind eyes who studied alien animals for a living. His job was to understand how different creatures lived and behaved on worlds far from Earth. He carried a tablet computer that contained information about thousands of different alien species. "The docking procedure will begin in 10 minutes, announced Lieutenant Commander Amy Rodriguez from the pilot's chair. Amy was responsible for keeping everyone safe during their mission. She had short black hair and wore the green uniform of Earth's Space Navy. Her job was to protect the diplomatic team if anything went wrong. Lucy walked back to her seat and buckled the safety straps. She did not really understand why they had come to this big station, but the adults had told her it was very important. All she knew was that some aliens were worried about humans and wanted to have a meeting about it. She thought this was silly because humans were nice and there was nothing to worry about. The ship shook gently as it connected to the station's docking port. Through the speakers, they heard mechanical sounds as the airlock sealed together. Lucy felt her stomach flutter with excitement. She had never been anywhere this far from Earth before. "Remember, everyone," Claire said as she gathered her papers and files, "we are here to represent all of humanity. Everything we say and do will be watched very carefully. The Galactic Council has concerns about our species, and we need to show them that humans are reasonable and peaceful." They walked through the airlock into the station. The first thing Lucy noticed was how different everything smelled. It was not bad, just strange, like metal and ozone and something sweet she could not identify. The walls were made of some kind of smooth white material that seemed to glow softly from within. A tall alien creature waited to greet them. It looked like a giant insect walking on 2 legs, with 4 arms and large compound eyes that reflected the light like jewels. Its skin was dark green and shiny, and it wore a silver robe with symbols Lucy did not recognize. "Welcome, Earth delegation." The alien said in perfect English, though its voice sounded like it came from a machine. "I am Coordinator Zixtel of the Zephyrian Collective. I will escort you to your quarters and then to the council chamber." Lucy stared up at the alien with wonder. She had seen pictures and videos of alien species, but meeting one in person was completely different. Zixtel noticed her looking and turned its large eyes toward her. "And this must be the young human we were told about," Zixtel said. "Most interesting. Human offspring are much smaller than I expected." "This is Lucy Peterson," Claire explained. "She is 8 years old. Her father was Captain Jake Peterson, who died protecting the Kepler colony." "Ah, yes, the human who sacrificed himself for others." A curious behavior pattern that many council members find difficult to understand. As they walked through the station's corridors, Lucy saw more aliens than she could count. There were tall beings made of what looked like living crystal that clinked when they moved. She saw creatures that floated in the air like glowing clouds of light. There were aliens with too many eyes and others with no eyes at all. Some walked on 4 legs, others slithered along the floor, and a few moved in ways that made no sense at all. Many of the aliens stopped what they were doing to stare at the human delegation as they passed. Lucy heard them whisper to each other, in languages that sounded like music or machine noises or wind blowing through trees. She could not understand the words, but she could tell from their body language that many of them seemed nervous or afraid. Why do they all look scared? Lucy asked Claire quietly. Claire exchanged a glance with Kevin and Amy before answering. Some of them have heard stories about humans that make them worried. They think we might be dangerous. But we're not dangerous, Lucy said, confused. We're nice. I know, sweetheart. That's why we're here. To show them that the stories they heard are wrong. They reached their quarters, which were a set of rooms designed to accommodate human needs. The furniture was the right size and the air tasted like earth air. Zixtal left them to get settled and rest before the meeting. Kevin activated his tablet and began reviewing his notes about the various species they would meet. Amy checked the security protocols and communication systems. Claire studied her diplomatic briefings and practiced her speech. Lucy found a comfortable chair near the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, too far away to see. She missed her home and her friends, but she was also excited to be part of something so important. Her father had always told her that humans had a special gift for making friends with anyone, even people who seemed very different. The door chimed and Zixtal returned. The council is ready to begin. Please follow me to the chamber. As they walked toward the meeting, Lucy noticed that the corridors had become crowded with aliens who wanted to see the human delegation. She waved at some of them, and a few waved back, though others seemed to shrink away from her gesture. The council chamber was enormous, with seats arranged in circles that rose up toward a domed ceiling. Representatives from dozens of alien species sat in their designated areas, and their combined voices created a sound like distant thunder as they spoke to each other. Claire took her place at the speaker's podium, while Kevin, Amy, and Lucy sat in the section reserved for the Earth delegation. Lucy looked around at all the different aliens and felt both excited and a little scared. She had never been in a room with so many strange and wonderful creatures. At the center of the chamber, a massive alien with dark red scales and glowing yellow eyes rose from what was clearly the most important seat. This was Chancellor Vexstar, the leader of the Galactic Council, and when he spoke, every other voice in the chamber fell silent. Chancellor Vexstar stood 12 feet tall, his dark red scales gleaming under the chamber's lights. His yellow eyes swept across the gathered representatives before focusing on the human delegation. When he spoke, his voice rumbled through the chamber like distant thunder, and Lucy felt the vibrations in her chest. We gather today to address a growing concern that threatens the stability of our galactic community, Vexstar began. The species known as humans has expanded rapidly across our galaxy, showing a disturbing pattern of reckless behavior that puts all civilized worlds at risk. Claire Morrison remained calm in her seat, though Lucy could see her hands gripping her papers tightly. Kevin Blake activated his recording device to document everything that was said. Amy Rodriguez scanned the chamber, noting the positions of security personnel and exit routes. For the past 50 Earth years, we have observed human activities. With increasing alarm, Vexstar continued, these observations have led us to conclude that humanity represents a fundamental threat to galactic order. A massive holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber. The first image showed human colonists on a world covered in purple vegetation. In the foreground, a human child was petting what looked like a 6-legged tiger with razor-sharp claws and acid-green eyes. On Kepler 7, humans established a colony despite the presence of razor-claw predators, Vexstar explained. These creatures have killed thousands of explorers from other species. Yet humans not only survived among them but began domesticating them as companions. Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the chamber. Several alien representatives shook their heads or made gestures that clearly indicated fear and confusion. The display changed to show a human research station built inside an active volcano. Scientists in protective suits were collecting samples of molten rock while creatures made of living magma swam through the lava around them. On Pyros Prime, Humans built research facilities in environments that would instantly kill most galactic species, Vextar said. They study creatures composed of pure flame and somehow convince these beings to cooperate with their research. Lucy watched the images with fascination rather than fear. To her, the humans in the holograms looked like they were having exciting adventures and making friends with amazing creatures. She did not understand why the aliens in the chamber seemed so frightened by these pictures. The next image made even Lucy gasp with wonder. It showed a massive creature floating in space near a human ship. The being was easily as large as the ship itself, with a body that seemed to be made of living starlight and tentacles that sparkled with cosmic energy. Most disturbing of all, Vextar continued, humans have made contact with the Void Dancers, ancient entities that exist in the space between stars. For millions of years, these beings have been considered untouchable, incomprehensible, and utterly alien. Yet somehow humans have established communication with them. Dr. Blake shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Lucy noticed that he looked worried for the first time since their arrival at the station. But the most alarming development occurred 3 months ago, Vextar said, and his voice grew even more serious. Human explorers discovered something that we believed had been extinct for over 1,000,000 years. The holographic display went dark for a moment, and Lucy could hear aliens throughout the chamber holding their breath. When the image reappeared, it showed a creature that made Lucy's eyes widen with amazement. The being was enormous, easily 40 feet long, with a body that looked like it was carved from black diamond. Its wings were folded against its sides, but even closed they were clearly massive. Its head was elegant and serpentine, with eyes that glowed like blue stars. Along its spine ran a series of crystalline spikes that pulsed with inner light. A void worm, Vextar announced, and several aliens actually fled from the chamber. The apex predator of the ancient galaxy. A creature of such power and ferocity that entire civilizations were driven to extinction fighting them, Lucy thought. The creature in the image was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. It reminded her of the dragons in her favorite storybooks, but even more magnificent and magical. These creatures can tear through the hull of a battleship with their claws, Vextar explained. Their breath weapon generates plasma hot enough to melt asteroids. Their hide is harder than military armor, and their intelligence rivals that of any species in this chamber. The image changed to show human scientists studying the void worm from a safe distance. Lucy could see the wonder and excitement on their faces as they observed the magnificent creature. Yet once again humans have chosen to study rather than flee, Vextar said. They claim to be conducting peaceful research, but we know the truth. Humans are attempting to weaponize these ancient terrors. Claire Morrison stood up from her seat. I request permission to address the Council, Chancellor. Vextar's yellow eyes fixed on her. Permission granted, Ambassador Morrison. Claire walked to the speaker's podium with calm dignity. Honored representatives, the images you have seen today represent humanity's greatest strength, not our weakness. We do not see monsters where others see death. We see opportunities for understanding and cooperation. Understanding? Interrupted a crystalline being whose voice sounded like breaking glass. You call it understanding to consort with creatures that destroyed entire star systems? Yes, Claire replied firmly, because understanding leads to peace. Every species humanity has encountered, no matter how dangerous others believe them to be, has become our ally through patience and respect. A floating cloud of light pulsed angrily. Your arrogance knows no bounds, human. You believe you can tame the untamable. Befriend the unbefriendable. Dr. Blake stood up. May I speak, Chancellor? Vextar nodded. The void worm we discovered was injured and alone, Kevin explained. Our research indicates that these creatures are not the mindless destroyers of legend. They are highly intelligent beings who were driven to aggression by fear and misunderstanding. Lies, roared a four-armed reptilian delegate. The historical records are clear. Void worms are engines of destruction. Historical records written by species who tried to kill them first, Kevin replied. We approached with scientific curiosity rather than weapons. The difference in response was remarkable. Vexstar raised one massive hand for silence. Enough debate. The Council has made its decision. Humanity must prove that it can control these dangerous tendencies or face quarantine from the galactic community. Lucy felt a chill run down her spine. She did not fully understand what quarantine meant, but it sounded bad. What kind of proof do you require? Claire asked. Vexstar's eyes gleamed with what might have been satisfaction. We have captured the void worm your people were studying. It is currently held in our maximum security containment facility here on the station. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Lucy noticed that even some of the alien security guards looked nervous. If humans truly possess this alleged ability to commune with dangerous creatures, Vexstar continued, then one of your delegation will demonstrate this skill. You will enter the containment chamber and approach the void worm without weapons or protective barriers. Claire felt her blood run cold. This was clearly a trap designed to get a human killed, giving the Council justification for their fears. The demonstration will be broadcast live to every member world, Vexstar added, so that all may witness either human courage or human folly. Amy. Rodriguez stood up, her hand moving instinctively toward her sidearm. This is essentially a death sentence. You're asking us to commit suicide to prove a point. We are asking you to prove your claims, Vexstar replied. If humans can truly befriend any creature, then this should present no difficulty. Claire realized she had no choice. Refusing would be seen as admitting defeat, but accepting would likely mean death for whoever entered that chamber. We accept your challenge, she said. Her voice steady despite her fear. Lucy listened to the adults arguing about who would face the dangerous creature. She thought about her father and how he had always told her that scared animals just needed someone to show them kindness. Maybe this dragon was just scared too. The human delegation returned to their quarters in heavy silence. Claire Morrison sat at the small table with her head in her hands, while Dr. Blake paced back and forth across the room. Amy Rodriguez stood by the window watching the alien ships move past the station like distant fireflies. Lucy Peterson sat quietly in her chair, swinging her legs and listening to the adults talk in worried voices. She understood that something very serious was happening, but the grown-ups were using big words that she did not completely understand. This is obviously a setup, Amy said without turning from the window. They expect whoever goes in there to be killed. Then they can point to the death as proof that humans are reckless and dangerous. I know, Claire replied softly. But if we refuse, they'll use that as evidence that our claims about befriending dangerous creatures are false. Either way, they get what they want. Kevin stopped pacing and looked at his companions. I'll do it. I'm the xenobiologist. If anyone has a chance of approaching the worm safely, it's me. No, Amy said firmly. I'm the security officer. It's my job to handle dangerous situations. This isn't about job descriptions, Claire said. This is about who has the best chance of survival. Kevin, what do you know about void worm behavior? Kevin activated his tablet and scrolled through files of research data. Not much, unfortunately. The historical records are mostly combat reports from species trying to kill them. There's very little scientific observation of their natural behavior patterns. What about the worm we were studying on Kepler-12? Amy asked. We only had 3 weeks to observe it before the Council demanded we turn it over, Kevin explained. But what we learned was fascinating. The creature showed clear signs of intelligence and emotional complexity. It seemed curious about us rather than aggressive. Lucy stopped swinging her legs and looked up at Kevin. Was it hurt? Kevin glanced down at her with surprise. What do you mean, sweetheart? The dragon you were studying. Was it hurt when you found it? Well, yes, actually. It had damaged wing membranes and showed signs of malnutrition. We think it had been separated from its pack for a long time. Lucy nodded seriously. Daddy always said that hurt animals act mean because they're scared. Maybe the dragon just needs someone to be nice to it. The adults exchanged glances. Claire knelt down beside Lucy's chair. Honey, this isn't like the animals your father helped. This creature is much more dangerous. But it's still an animal, right? Lucy asked. And animals like it when people are gentle and kind to them. Before anyone could respond, the door chimed. Coordinator Zixtel entered with several alien security guards. The Council requires your delegation to inspect the containment facility immediately. You must see the creature you will be facing. They were escorted through the station's corridors, past curious alien onlookers who whispered among themselves as the humans passed. Lucy noticed that word of the challenge had spread quickly, and many of the aliens looked either excited or terrified. The containment facility was located in the most secure section of the station. They passed through multiple security checkpoints, each one requiring different types of identification scans. The walls grew thicker and the lighting dimmer as they descended deeper into the station's core. The containment chamber was originally designed to hold war criminals and mass murderers. Zixtel explained as they walked. It has been modified specifically to contain a void worm. The energy barriers can withstand direct plasma fire, and the chamber itself is made of reinforced quantum steel. They reached a final checkpoint where armed guards from multiple species stood ready. Beyond them was a massive circular door marked with warning symbols in dozens of alien languages. Even Lucy could tell that these symbols meant danger. The demonstration will take place in 6 hours, Zixtel announced. The delay will allow time for all member worlds to prepare their viewing systems. This event will be witnessed by billions of beings across the galaxy. Through a thick observation window, they could see into the containment chamber. The room was enormous, easily 100 feet across, with walls that curved up into a dome. In the center, suspended by crackling energy restraints, was the most magnificent creature Lucy had ever seen. The void worm was even more beautiful in person than in the holographic images. Its black scales reflected the chamber's lights like a starfield, and its crystalline spines pulsed with soft blue light. Even restrained and obviously unhappy, the creature moved with fluid grace, but Lucy could see what the adults had missed. The Wyrm's movements were not aggressive or predatory. They were the restless motions of a caged animal that wanted to go home. Its great head turned constantly, searching for something that was not there. It's looking for its family, Lucy said. Quietly, Kevin leaned down to hear her better. What did you say? The dragon is looking for its family. See how it keeps turning its head? My cat does that when she can't find her kittens. Kevin looked back at the worm with new understanding. You might be right. Void Wyrms are social creatures, according to the ancient texts. Being alone would be very stressful for them. Amy studied the restraint system and the chamber's security measures. How do those energy barriers work? They create a containment field that prevents the creature from moving more than a few feet in any direction, one of the guards explained. The barriers are designed to keep dangerous beings inside the chamber. But they don't prevent things from going into the chamber? Amy asked. No, the challenge requires direct contact. The barriers only work in one direction. Claire felt sick to her stomach as she watched the trapped creature. This is barbaric. That poor animal has done nothing wrong. That poor animal has the power to destroy this entire station, Zixtel replied coldly. Do not mistake size and beauty for harmlessness, Ambassador. As they watched, the worm suddenly became more agitated. It strained against its restraints and let out a sound that was part roar and part song. The noise was so loud that it made the observation window vibrate. Several of the alien guards stepped back nervously, but Lucy pressed closer to the window. It's not angry, she said. It's crying. The adults looked at her in surprise. Crying? Claire asked. Like when I have bad dreams and I want my daddy, but he can't come help me, Lucy explained. It's sad and scared and wants to go home. Kevin watched the creature's behavior more carefully and realized that Lucy might be right. The Wyrm's vocalizations had a mournful quality, and its body language suggested distress rather than aggression. We need to prepare for the demonstration, Zixtel announced. Which member of your delegation will enter the chamber? The three adults looked at each other, each knowing that whoever volunteered would probably not survive the encounter. Kevin started to step forward, but Amy moved to block him. "I'll do it," Amy said. "I'm trained for high-risk situations." "No," Kevin protested. "I'm the scientist. I understand animal behavior better than anyone." Claire watched her two friends argue about who should sacrifice their life for humanity's reputation. She knew that, as the ambassador, the responsibility should be hers, but she also knew that her death would accomplish nothing positive. Lucy tugged on Claire's sleeve. "Can I ask you something?" Claire knelt down to Lucy's level. "Of course, sweetheart." "Why? Can't we just ask the dragon what it wants?" "What do you mean?" Lucy pointed toward the observation window. "You said it's really smart, right? Smart like people. So why don't we just talk to it and ask what would make it happy?" The adults stared at Lucy in amazement. In all their scientific training and diplomatic experience, none of them had considered the simple approach of direct communication. "Out of the mouths of babes," Kevin murmured. Claire stood up and turned to face Zixtel. "We accept your challenge, but we want to modify the terms slightly." "The Council's conditions are not negotiable," Zixtel replied. "We're not asking to change the basic requirement," Claire said. "We'll still have one person enter the chamber and approach the Wyrm without weapons or barriers. But we want to try establishing communication first." Zixtel's compound eyes reflected the light as he considered this request. "What kind of communication?" "Dr. Blake has translation equipment and protocol algorithms for first contact situations. If the creature is truly intelligent, we should be able to establish basic communication. And if communication fails," Claire took a deep breath, "then we'll proceed with the physical approach as originally planned." Lucy listened to the adults negotiate and felt a warm feeling in her chest. Maybe they would not have to hurt the beautiful dragon after all. Maybe they could just be friends with it instead. 6 hours later, the containment chamber had been transformed into a galactic theater. Massive screens lined the observation deck, showing feeds from billions of viewing stations across the galaxy. Representatives from every major species crowded around the windows. While others watched from their homeworlds countless light years away, Lucy Peterson sat in a special chair that had been brought in so she could see over the adult aliens. She wore her best dress, the blue one with little stars on it that her father had given her for her last birthday. Claire Morrison had braided her hair with ribbons, making her look like she was going to a party instead of witnessing something that might be very sad. Chancellor Vexstar stood at the center of the observation deck, his red scales gleaming under the bright lights. "Citizens of the galaxy, you are about to witness a test that will determine humanity's place in our cosmic community. Will they prove their claims of being able to befriend any creature, or will they demonstrate the reckless arrogance that makes them a threat to us all?" In the chamber below, the void Wyrm hung suspended in its energy restraints. The creature had grown more agitated as the hours passed, sensing the attention and excitement of the crowds above. Its crystalline spines pulsed faster now, and its great wings strained against the bonds that held them. Dr. Kevin Blake stood at the chamber's entrance, wearing a simple jumpsuit with no protective gear. He carried only a small translation device and his tablet computer. His hands shook slightly as he checked his equipment one final time. "Dr. Blake will now enter the chamber," Vexstar announced. "Remember, he carries no weapons and has no protective barriers. He must rely entirely on this alleged human ability to commune with dangerous predators." The massive door slid open with a grinding sound that echoed through the chamber. Kevin stepped inside, and immediately the Void Wyrm's attention focused on him. The creature's glowing blue eyes locked onto the small human figure and its body. Tensed like a coiled spring. Kevin activated his translation device and spoke slowly and clearly. "Hello, Magnificent One. I'm Kevin. I mean you no harm. I want to understand you." The device processed his words and projected them as a series of musical tones and light patterns. The Wyrm tilted its great head and listened, but showed no sign of understanding or recognition. Kevin tried again, adjusting the frequency settings. We know you are intelligent. We know you are far from home. Please help us understand what you need. This time the creature responded with a sound that was part roar and part song, but the translation device could make no sense of it. The mathematical patterns were too complex. The emotional undertones too alien for the machine to process. Lucy watched from the observation deck with growing concern. She could see that Dr. Blake was trying very hard to talk to the dragon, but it was not working. The beautiful creature looked more upset with each passing minute. The communication attempt is failing, Vexstar observed with what might have been satisfaction. The creature shows no signs of understanding or cooperation. Kevin moved closer to the Wyrm, still trying different translation protocols. But as he approached, the creature became more agitated. It strained against its restraints and breathed out a stream of superheated plasma that scorched the chamber floor. Just inches from Kevin's feet, several alien observers screamed and fled from the viewing windows. Others made clicking or hissing, sounds that clearly indicated fear and distress. "Get back!" Amy Rodriguez shouted from the observation deck. "It's trying to kill you." But Lucy could see something that the adults had missed. The dragon had not aimed its fire at Dr. Blake. The plasma blast had been directed at the floor, not at the human. It was a warning shot, not an attack. "It's not trying to hurt him," Lucy said, but her small voice was lost in the noise of the panicking crowd. Kevin continued his approach, but now the Wyrm was thrashing violently against its bonds. The energy restraints sparked and flared as the creature struggled. Its cries grew louder and more desperate. "This is madness," shouted a crystalline delegate. "The beast will kill him." "Perhaps that would be for the best," muttered another alien. "It would prove that humans are as reckless as we suspected." Claire Morrison felt sick as she watched her friend approach what appeared to be certain death. The creature was clearly becoming more dangerous with each passing second, and Kevin seemed helpless to calm it down. Then Lucy Peterson did something that no one expected. She stood up in her chair and called out in her clear, high voice, "You're scaring it." The observation deck fell silent. Everyone turned to stare at the small human child who had dared to speak during such a tense moment. Lucy looked around at all the alien faces watching her, but she was not afraid. "The dragon isn't mean," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "It's scared because there are too many people watching it. When my cat gets scared, she hides under the bed. But the dragon can't hide because it's tied up." Vexstar's yellow eyes fixed on Lucy with surprise and annoyance. "Child, you do not understand the situation. That creature is a predator of unimaginable power." "It's scared," Lucy repeated firmly. "Look at its eyes. They're not angry eyes. They're scared eyes." In the chamber below, Kevin had stopped moving. He was listening to the conversation above through his communication device, and suddenly he realized that Lucy might be right. The Wyrm's behavior was not that of an aggressive predator. It was the behavior of a frightened animal that felt trapped and threatened. Kevin slowly backed away from the creature and spoke into his communicator. Lucy might be onto something. The Wyrm's stress levels seemed to increase with the size of the audience. "Maybe we need to clear the observation deck." "Absolutely not," Vexstar replied. "This demonstration must be witnessed." That was the agreement, but Lucy was already moving. Before anyone could stop her, she slipped away from the adults and ran toward the chamber entrance. Her small size allowed her to dodge between the alien guards who tried to catch her. "Lucy!" "No," Claire shouted, but it was too late. The little girl had already reached the chamber door. The security systems were designed to keep dangerous creatures inside, not to keep people out. Lucy walked through the energy barrier as easily as, stepping through a doorway, the observation deck erupted in chaos. Aliens screamed in terror, guards rushed toward the chamber, and Claire Morrison felt her heart stop beating. But in the chamber itself, something extraordinary happened. The moment Lucy entered, the void worm stopped thrashing. Its great head turned toward her, and its glowing eyes focused on the small human child with what could only be described as curiosity. Lucy walked slowly toward the magnificent creature, completely unafraid. She had seen scared animals before, and she knew exactly what this one needed. "Hello, beautiful dragon," she said softly. I'm Lucy. I'm sorry everyone was being so loud and scary. That must have been very frightening for you. The worm lowered its great head toward her and made a soft sound almost like a purr. Its crystalline spine stopped pulsing so rapidly, and its body began to relax. Lucy reached up with one small hand and gently touched the creature's snout. Just like she would pet a friendly dog, the observation deck fell completely silent. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched in stunned amazement as a human child accomplished what no other species had ever imagined possible. The void worm closed its glowing blue eyes as Lucy's small hand touched its snout. The massive creature, which moments before had been a terrifying engine of destruction, made a sound that was somewhere between a purr and a gentle whistle. Its entire body relaxed, and the aggressive tension that had filled the chamber melted away like ice in sunlight. Lucy smiled and stroked the smooth scales around the creature's nose. "You're so pretty," she said in the gentle voice she used with all animals. "I bet you miss your family. Are you lonely?" The worm opened its eyes and looked directly into Lucy's face. For a moment that seemed to stretch across eternity, child and dragon regarded each other with perfect understanding. Then the great creature carefully, slowly, nuzzled Lucy's hand with a tenderness that defied everything the galaxy thought it knew about void Wyrm. In the observation deck above. Not a single being moved or spoke. The silence was so complete that Lucy could hear the soft humming of the station's life support systems. Billions of aliens across thousands of worlds watched their screens in stunned disbelief. Chancellor Vextar's yellow eyes were wide with shock. His mouth hung open, revealing rows of sharp teeth, but no words came out. The massive reptilian leader who had commanded respect and fear throughout the galaxy was speechless. Dr. Kevin Blake stood frozen in the chamber, his translation device hanging forgotten in his hand. Everything he thought he knew about xenobiology and interspecies communication had just been overturned by an 8-year-old girl with a kind heart. "It's okay, sweetie," Lucy whispered to the worm. "I know you're scared and far from home, but you don't have to be afraid anymore. We're going to help you." The creature made that soft purring sound again and gently pressed its snout against Lucy's small hand. The gesture was so tender and trusting that several aliens in the observation deck actually began to weep. Claire Morrison felt tears streaming down her own face as she watched the impossible scene below. Her heart was still racing from terror at seeing Lucy enter the chamber, but now that fear was being replaced by wonder and pride. Amy Rodriguez had her hand on her weapon, ready to act if anything went wrong, but she could see that no action would be necessary. The most dangerous predator in galactic history was behaving like a gentle pet with a small human child. Lucy looked up at the observation windows where all the aliens were watching. "See?" she called out in her clear voice. "She's not mean at all. She's just lonely and scared. Somebody should let her go home to her family." The worm followed Lucy's gaze upward and saw the crowds of alien observers for the first time. Instead of becoming agitated again, the creature seemed curious about them. It tilted its great head and made a questioning sound, as if asking Lucy who all these strange beings were. "Those are my friends," Lucy explained patiently. "Well, I hope they're my friends. Some of them were scared of you because they didn't understand that you're nice." Chancellor Vextar finally found his voice. "This is impossible," he whispered. "The historical records clearly state that void worms are aggressive predators. They destroyed entire civilizations." A new voice spoke from the chamber below. The void worm was producing complex musical tones that Kevin's translation device was finally beginning to process. Slowly, words began to appear on the device's screen. "Lonely ... lost. Want to go home ... please help ... Kevin read the translated words aloud, and gasps echoed through the observation deck. The creature was not only intelligent but was actively trying to communicate with them. "How long have you been alone?" Lucy asked the worm gently, more musical tones, more translated words. "Long time, very long time ... Domly gone ... Cold here ... Gaunt warmth of home star." Dr. Blake activated his tablet and began cross-referencing stellar charts with the Wyrm's location data. If I'm reading this correctly, this individual has been separated from its pack for over 2 years. It's been drifting through dead space, probably searching for others of its kind. Lucy stroked the creature's snout again. 2 years all by yourself? No wonder you're sad. I would be sad too if I couldn't see my friends for 2 years. The worm nuzzled her hand again and made a sound that clearly indicated agreement and gratitude. Coordinator Zixtel descended from the observation deck and approached the chamber entrance. His compound eyes reflected the light as he stared at the scene before him. This changes everything we thought we knew about these creatures. No, said a soft voice from the crystalline delegate section. This changes everything we thought we knew about humans. Claire Morrison straightened her shoulders and addressed the assembled council. This is what we've been trying to tell you. Humans don't see monsters where others see death. We see individuals in need of understanding and compassion. The floating energy being that had spoken earlier pulsed with different colors now. You mean to say that all the historical accounts of void worm aggression were ... misunderstandings, Kevin finished. Defensive reactions to being attacked first. These creatures are probably naturally social and peaceful. When isolated or threatened, they respond with the only defense they have. Lucy was now sitting cross-legged on the chamber floor while the massive worm lowered its head to rest near her. The creature's crystalline spines had stopped pulsing entirely, indicating a state of complete relaxation. We need to contact the void worm homeworlds, Lucy announced matter-of-factly. This one needs to go home to her family. Child, Vextar said slowly, those worlds are considered forbidden zones. No ship has approached them in 1,000 years. Then, maybe it's time someone did, Claire said firmly. If we're going to move forward as a galactic community, we need to stop making assumptions based on fear and start building relationships based on understanding. The worm began to sing a hauntingly beautiful melody that filled the chamber with harmonics that seemed to resonate in everyone's bones. Through the translation device, they learned that this was a song of gratitude and hope. One by one, alien representatives began to approach the chamber windows. They watched in amazement as Lucy continued to interact with the creature, showing the same fearless kindness that had characterized human exploration throughout the galaxy. The Council will need to reconsider many of our policies, Vextar admitted reluctantly. If humans can truly bridge the gap between us and the galaxy's most dangerous species... We're not dangerous, Lucy said, looking up at the Chancellor with serious green eyes. We just like making friends with everyone. Even scary-looking people who turn out to be nice when you get to know them. The worm made what could only be described as a chuckling sound, and Lucy giggled in response. The two beings, separated by millions of years of evolution and countless light years of space, had found a common language in the simple act of kindness. Dr. Blake was already working on his tablet, calculating stellar coordinates and communication protocols. I can have a message sent to the Void Worm territories within 6 hours. If there are others of her species out there, they need to know we have one of their own. Amy Rodriguez finally relaxed her guard stance. I guess this means the demonstration was a success. More than a success, Claire said, watching Lucy and the worm together. This is the beginning of a new era for galactic relations. As if responding to her words, delegations from several species began requesting immediate meetings with the human ambassador. The galaxy that had viewed humanity with suspicion and fear was now eager to learn how humans accomplished the impossible. Lucy looked up at all the aliens watching her and waved cheerfully. Hi everyone, do you want to come meet my new friend? She's really nice once you get to know her. The void worm lifted its great head and regarded the assembled aliens with calm, intelligent eyes. For the first time in galactic history, the most feared predator in the known universe was looking at other species not as threats, but as potential friends. Chancellor Vextar stepped forward slowly. Perhaps we have much to learn from humanity after all. Lucy Peterson, 8 years old and completely unaware that she had just changed the course of galactic history, continued petting her new friend and humming a little song that her father used to sing to her. In her mind, she had simply done what any kind person would do when they met someone who was sad and lonely. The void worm began to hum along with Lucy's song, and together they created a melody that would echo through the stars for generations to come.